5 locations that matter to you, like home, work, and school, so you know what's going on.
For over 20 years, my family, like so many of you, has proudly been part of Broncos country.
Every season, we feel the energy, passion, and commitment that defines this team.
And now we are honored to be the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos.
Ramos Law. What makes us different makes us better.
Hey there, crew. It is Thursday. It is May 28th, just heading toward June, heading into summertime in full sort of, all systems go kind of thing. This is Peaks to Plains weather. This is Live Mornings with Meister. I am Chief Meteorologist Matt Meister. Thanks for joining me here this morning. A little bit of a slow start in the Peaks to Plains Weather Center this morning. I got up when my alarm went off, and then I fell back asleep. So there you go. That happens sometimes. Susan says good morning from Palmer Lake. Fog's out on her deck. It's a bit cool. Anne says good morning. Good morning, Anne. Good morning, Susan. And good morning to you. Thanks for starting your day with us here at Peaks to Plains Weather. Let's jump into the forecast. Early this morning, we'll start off with Tamco live radar because we still have some showers and a couple thunderstorms over the far eastern plains. This is kind of east of Highway 385 for the most part at this point, and a couple showers to the north of Kit Carson. You can see all of that is kind of lifting off to the north. It's part of this big area of shear between an area of low pressure over California and a high over the middle part of the country. Now, we've seen some showers and light drizzle early this morning in the Pikes Peak region, thanks to upslope, moisture-laden air, and enough lingering instability out there that in just the last 20 minutes, some of those showers have picked back up here as we get our day underway. Of course, big event at the United States Air Force Academy today. It is one of Southern Colorado's great traditions, and it's going to be a gray morning at the Academy through 11 o'clock. And then I think we'll start to see some peaks of some sun. That's good news for the new second lieutenants, who most of them I think were commissioned last night. At some point between 10 and noon, maybe a little bit closer to noon, we'll see what the wind speeds are out of the southeast here. I think we'll start to get some peaks of sun. That sun early in the afternoon is going to give us a little bit of potential for some strong storms here right across the Front Range, as our temperatures today should end up a little bit warmer than we had yesterday by a noticeable amount. Most areas starting in the 40s and 50s. We really are in the time of year, summer in Colorado. There's not a lot of change on a daily basis in terms of the low temperatures. San Luis Valley is a little bit cooler than everybody else early this morning because we're starting to see some dry air work into the region there. Let's check some traffic cameras with some of the showers that we've had early this morning. I mean, you can tell that like there's been some moisture. There's no splashback up against the Front Range, right? It's just kind of cool. It's sort of a damp feel. Humidity's between about 85 and 90% in a lot of areas, so that we've got these low clouds overhead. You don't see the sunshine busting out here anywhere that we are looking early this morning, at least on these cameras. And so, you know, kind of a gray start to the day, a little bit more sun over some of the mountain areas. You can see that there, the alpenglow on some of the hillsides at La Vida Pass. Trinidad, we've got a little bit of sun coming out as well. But for a lot of us, it is kind of a gray start to the day. So we will see what our forecast does here coming up in a little bit, because we start to transition into a different pattern for the weekend. But before I do that, I want to investigate how much rain we had across the area yesterday. Now, this is radar estimation in the last 24 hours. So some of this down here in Los Animas County, where I'm looking to the north of Kim right now, we actually had more than this. We were getting rain between 3 and 6 o'clock yesterday. So some of these areas were over an inch, and there were a couple spots down here that had more than 1.5 inches. Overnight, out across the plains, and yesterday afternoon we had some showers and some thunderstorms, and where the brighter greens are is where we're picking up more than 1 inch. There were some spots of hail out here yesterday, and so some of that is due to the hail melting that we get more than 1 inch of rain up against the closer to the hills and the cities. Most of Colorado Springs catching between about 1/10 of an inch and 2/10 of an inch. Pueblo, we had some pockets that had a little bit more than that, maybe close to 1/3 of an inch. Around Canyon City, radar's estimating sort of between 3/10 and 6/10 of an inch. And out in Crowley County yesterday, kind of on the lower end of things, like my buddy John Tomke would tell me that he often is. And so, you know, maybe we can get you some here today, because I do have a chance of storms in the forecast, although I think in Crowley County, you are not going to be a spot that sees them. I've got the short-term forecast coming up here in just a little bit. First, though, it's time to check in with my friend Kathy Skaggs. It is time for Smart Living in the Pikes Peak region.
Hi, I'm Kathy Skaggs with Diligent Homes, and I'm a real estate advisor in the Pikes Peak region. If you've lived in Colorado Springs for even a season, you know hail isn't an if, it is a when, and it can impact a home more than people realize. Sometimes the impact on the roof is obvious when you have watched large hail hit your roof. Other times, it's not as obvious. From the ground, everything can look fine, but it may not be the whole story. I have a seller right now who has had several hailstorms over the past few years, but has had no concerns. But when she was getting ready to put her house on the market, we had a roofer come out just to confirm it was fine. After all, she didn't have any leaks and there were no obvious issues. But we found out there was extensive hail damage. But when calling her insurance, she found out she was outside the window of being able to put in a claim. Because of living here in the Springs, I think it's important that every now and then you have your roof checked. even if you don't think there's a problem. And in regard to insurance, there are two things that would be really good to know before you have a claim. What is your deductible, and how long is that window from incident to claim? Hail often does more than damage the roof. It often includes gutters, exterior paint, or even siding. Pretty much anything outside and open to the elements can be damaged. Some remedies might be impact-resistant shingles when you have to replace them already. And also, some of the insurances offer a discount on your premium if you do. So, stay ahead of small damage before it has to become a full replacement. And make sure you know what your insurance covers before it hits. This is where having someone on your side really matters. I help clients know where to look and who to trust. If you need a reliable roofer or inspector, I've built relationships with professionals that I really trust. Reach out anytime at Kathy@diligent.homes, and I'm happy to connect you. And if you're wondering how your home's condition affects the value, I can help with that too. Remember, whatever your real estate needs, I'm here for you because Diligent brings you home.
Thanks, Kathy. Like checking in with her every day, one of our Peaks to Plains partners at Diligent Homes, diligent.homes, as you heard. And as she said, there is, you got to be aware of that hail. I've got a hail claim going on my roof right now. And there's an outside chance, this is one of those days where I'm not sure we are going to be able to use some of the ingredients that are in place. Let's talk about the short-term forecast here as we do that early this morning on this Thursday. Here's what's driving our weather. Gave us that cool day yesterday is this area of low pressure over California that's been hanging out for a few days now. And there is a ridge over the middle part of the United States off to the west of Minneapolis. In between those two things, we have this area of shear. These two systems are kind of fighting. This is a little bit of a blocking pattern. You'll hear it called an omega block because it looks like the Greek letter omega if I widened the view out and showed you the trough across the eastern United States. And that's been hanging out over Colorado. Now, today we start to get the influence, at least as we head into the afternoon, of the upper level low beginning to move off to the east. And so we will be warmer today than we were yesterday. Our high temperatures were in the 50s and 60s for a lot of us, and so we get about a 10-degree bump. And we also start to see the drier air come in from the west. And so we get quite a bit of sun over the mountains this morning. And that warmer air, the drier air coming down the hills starts to erode the low cloud cover. So even though it'll take a while, it'll take longest in the Pikes Peak region. With a southeast wind, we're pushing into the slopes of Pikes Peak and the southern slopes of the Palmer Divide. The sun will start to come out. And so as we head into the afternoon, you get this low-level moisture pushing into the hills. You get this wind out of the southwest aloft. And you get warmer temps than yesterday. Those are ingredients for thunderstorms. And so we'll start to develop some, I think, as we head into the early part of the afternoon. And on the western edge of the low-level moisture, we do have some ingredients in place for storms to strengthen. The question is, how long will they be able to last as they move off to the east? And you see some storms getting strong here, especially over the Pikes Peak region, as we move into the afternoon. And some of those may last until the late part of the evening. The current run of SkyCast isn't showing that as much as like the last 6 or 7 runs have been. But there's a little wave coming up from the southwest that I think has potential to keep some storms going. And so there's this little window here along the eastern slopes of the mountains and right up toward, let's say, I-25, where the storms might get strong enough to produce some hail around an inch or so in diameter. Now, SkyCast is showing them falling apart here. As they move off to the east, they may last a little bit longer to the east than SkyCast is showing. But see how it's kind of recharging more storms to the west? So we'll keep an eye on that this afternoon because there may be some hail out there. Canyon City, we could catch some of those, maybe even to the west of Walsenburg and Trinidad. And you see SkyCast roll on a storm to the east with that higher terrain feature of the Raton Mesa. Those are always important in Colorado. And so we'll keep that chance of storms around through the evening tonight, and maybe even into early Friday morning, because there's a wave kicking out ahead of that big area of low pressure coming out of New Mexico that might keep some thunderstorms going into early Friday as well. So we'll watch the next 24 hours. It's a little bit interesting. The farther east you go over the plains, showers this morning, maybe an isolated storm, but the trend for you will certainly be a quieter afternoon than you had yesterday. Tomorrow morning, we're in the 40s. I don't think we get any 30s like we have this morning in some of the big mountain valleys. Over the plains, we don't change as much, but we still have a lot of water around. Dew points running in the mid 50s. And so we still wrestle with, we have these ingredients in place for storms tomorrow. But notice how as we hit the middle part of the day, dew points are dropping in a big way over the mountains. And we start to see them drop in a few areas up against the hills. Walsenburg, we're dropping. Colorado Springs, we're dropping. Now the specificity of that, I can't guarantee what the model's showing, but the idea of the drier air starting to come down the hills is going to be right. So it's another kind of gray start to the day, but then the drier air begins to win out in a big way and we start to get some sunshine. Now, with the warmer air coming maybe over the top of some of that moisture-laden air at the surface, we may have a little bit of a cap tomorrow. That's something we're going to watch because we'll end up a little bit warmer than today, kind of across the board. We see 80 start to show up over the plains. And while there is ingredients for thunderstorms to maybe get strong, it's kind of lifting off to the northeast with the low-level moisture during the afternoon. And so I'm going to keep a couple storms in the forecast. I'm going to keep the possibility of a strong storm. Models have been trending less exciting with things, but history tells me not to put the guard down for tomorrow because I think we may have a little bit more activity than some of those computer models are showing. Heading into the weekend, though, crew, we do have drier air on the way. I think we've got a pretty good looking Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk about that forecast when we come back. You're on Mornings with Meister on Peaks to Plains Weather.
Emergencies are unpredictable, but you don't have to be unprepared. Peak Alerts sends you targeted emergency alerts in real time for the places that matter to you most, so you know what's happening and what to do next. Know first, act fast. That's the power of Peak Alerts.
This is John May, General Manager of Petrale Roofing, up on another customer's roof doing a free 21-point inspection. If you'd like us to take a look at your roof, give us a call today, 719-375-8773. We'd be happy to take a look and see the condition of your roof. Petrale Roofing, we're a Diamond certified TAMCO installer, which means we can offer a industry-leading 25-year workmanship warranty to give you peace of mind in the storm. Call Petrale Roofing, 719-375-8773. Schedule your free inspection today.
At Phil Long Ford Motor City, we've been around for 80 years. That's like 560 in dog years.
To say thank you to our loyal customers, it's employee pricing for all. You pay what we pay. Our way of celebrating Colorado's 150th anniversary and America's 250th birthday.
American value for American values. You pay what we pay. Right, boys?
That's right. Only at the original Phil Long Ford store.
Barbecue brisket, smoked in that authentic Oklahoma style. Pulled pork sandwiches, and don't forget the sauce. It doesn't get any better than this. Order box lunches for the whole crew. Feed them safely with award-winning catering from Bird Dog Barbecue. Oklahoma style, perfected in Colorado.
All right, so the extended forecast as we move into the weekend features the system over the western United States starting to kick out of here. That's going to draw some air up into our region. In between that and a big area of high pressure that goes all the way up into southern Canada, we've been dealing with this kind of sheared out area of some moisture and some lift, but this feature starts to drive our forecast. Now, there's one thing this morning when I got in here and started looking at stuff that I was like, that's interesting, because it is now starting to see some indications that kind of instead of moving through the tri-state area right here, that maybe it ends up a little bit farther east on Saturday across Colorado. That's interesting to me. I'm not changing our forecast yet, but I want to give you a heads up. Because as it moves into the area on Saturday, if it's, close enough to us, we may get sort of swiped by some of the upper level lift from that system. It might get a quick smack of some showers as we move through the afternoon across the mountain areas. That's the first time I've seen that, and so I'm not going to bite on it yet, but I want to give you a heads up that, hey, there's something we're watching, and we might have some action over the mountains that it didn't look like we would have for the last few days. Otherwise, though, drier air on the south end of that circulation comes in, and we get a quieter weekend. As it gets up to the north early next week, we'll bring a cold front into the area at some point on Monday. Not really going to notice a temperature drop with this, but the wind shift brings the low-level moisture back into the forecast, and so I think we could have some storms again by the time we hit Tuesday. So let's watch the low-level moisture here, because that's a big driver of our thunderstorm chances here this time of year. Now, as we move into Saturday, we're blowing that off to the northeast. That's why I've had a drier forecast. But some of this moisture from that upper level system might be a little bit closer to home. As we head into Sunday, we're still pretty dry around here. And that cold front comes in Monday. Timing of it on Monday will affect our chances for storms. If it gets here early enough in the day, we'll start to pull the low level moisture back. Behind it for Tuesday, we certainly have more water around and a better chance of some thunderstorms. So that makes our extended forecast kind of shape up like this. For Colorado Springs, I'm going to keep a chance of a storm in the forecast tomorrow. And for now, I am going to keep Saturday and Sunday dry. Again, I'll watch if that track of the upper level low kind of keeps getting closer to us in some of the models. And then we'll put the chance of a storm in the forecast as we head into early next week with that front that, like I said, doesn't drop our temperatures a lot. But, you know, it does bring the low-level moisture in. And then as we head into June early next week, which, of course, happens on, what is it, Monday, I think? Maybe it's Sunday. I don't know. We get, you know, pretty comfortable weather here for the time of year as it's looking now. So Pueblo, our best chance of a thunderstorm will come here as we move into early next week behind that cold front. Temperatures drop just a handful of degrees with that front. So lots of days in the 80s here. Overnight lows not changing too much. This is real summery stuff. Chance of a storm over the mountains today, over the mountains tomorrow. Again, I'm keeping our official forecast dry for now, but we'll watch that system here as we move into the weekend. I think the farther north and west you are in the mountains, probably a better chance of some thunderstorms on Saturday. And then, you know, on the slopes of Pikes Peak with the arrival of that front next week, I'll do a couple days here where we have a chance of some thunderstorms. If you are in and out, lots of folks I know doing that. Given the morning here, we'll kind of end with what Ann wants to know. She missed when I talked about this earlier, said, will the Thunderbirds be able to fly today? You know, as is usually the case this time of year when you have this low-level moisture, it's a little bit of a close call. I'm going to lean toward yes, but I can't give you a 100% guarantee. It is going to depend on how high the ceiling is over the Air Force Academy. They do have a low show that they can do. I'm pretty confident that they will be able to do a flyover pass for the cadets as they are tossing their hats into the air. The second lieutenants in the United States Air Force, the Space Force as well. You can see here what we're trying to figure out is how quick the sun comes out. And I kind of leaning toward the middle part of the day. I do think it's going to. So that means that for, you know, the Air Force Academy graduation, I just realized I didn't show you guys that, so let me show you that. You can see that we'll keep clouds around through the first part of the ceremony. Temperatures won't move a lot as that happens. And then we hit kind of the middle part of the day, and we will probably start to see at least some breaks of sun peeking through. That means the clouds will kind of be, at least the ceiling will be lifting a little bit, and then we'll get more sun here as we head into the back part of the day. So I've kind of been rolling with that on my forecast, and I'm going to keep that rolling here through the morning. So we'll see. Lots of folks, obviously, you know, this time of year want to see them. They did some practicing yesterday, kind of dodging a couple thunderstorms they got out there. So, you know, we will keep our fingers crossed. That's all we can do, right? Isaac Brisk says this. Good morning. What an awesome brisk morning. Does that mean like it's awesome in the brisk house? Or you're having an awesome morning? Or that the weather is brisk outside? Maybe a little bit of both. Alrighty, my friends, that's it for me here. I've had a slow start to the morning. You know, I'm just going to be honest. Like it's been a little slow. I got a lot of work to do here because I am behind. Thanks for joining me this morning. It has been great to have you on Mornings with Meister. Mary is getting back from vacation. She'll be joining us here as we head into the weekend. I know she has enjoyed her time away at the beach. I appreciate you sharing the Peaks to Plains weather app with everybody, talking about Peaks to Plains weather. And, keep doing that. This is a movement. This is our weather together. Have a good day.
We don't know what the weather is going to be like around here. I do get really anxious during storms.
That's why they chose HailGuard. When performance leads, confidence follows. Backed by the first and only asphalt shingle system with a hail warranty.
That just gives us more peace of mind.
This is the only asphalt product on the market that has the manufacturer warranty targeting the hail damage, and it gives me a lot of confidence as a contractor.
Engineered for enhanced impact performance. Built to protect homes and reputations. HailGuard shingles. Built for hail.